Hey there, good morning to you. Welcome to Still Up with 6. We've got a lot to cover this morning, but we do want to say hello to Chris joining us from home. Hey, Chris.
Yeah, certainly a lot to cover. Good morning to you. I know that Zach is in studio as well. It was a noisy night here in Central Texas. We will be answering your stimulus check questions, your coronavirus questions here in just a moment, but I think that we are going to try to get a little bit of a weather update here. Is that right? Just to clarify what's going on and where that storm is moving?
Yeah, so Zach has been tracking it all night long if you tuned into his Facebook Live and saw him, but now he's here to update us. Zach, where is the storm now and what's the day looking like on this Wednesday?
Yeah, it's going to be a nice day. We're really shaping up for some nice weather. Bottom line, the severe weather is all towards the southeast. Here we go. Yeah, got to get the mic on. Switching over here. Do not be mad at me, Heidi. This is social media. We're allowed to have some goof ups, right? No, she's got a face palm over there. Hey, we are tracking the severe weather moving off towards the south. Bottom line is we are done with the severe threat as we go through the day. There's that severe line of storms that moved through as we went through the overnight hours. A lot of lightning, a lot of heavy rain, and we had the hail that was embedded in there. We even had some strong wind gusts. The strongest wind gusts were likely with this cluster of winds that moved from Gatesville through Coryell, through Belton, Temple, Bell County. We had 50, 60 to 65 mile per hour winds that were associated with that, even 70 mile per hour winds just on the south side of Milam County. So we may even had some isolated 70 mile per hour winds for us in portions of Bell County. The severe weather is off towards the south, southeast, now south of I-10. We've got temperatures in the 60s, cloudy skies. Here's what you really want to know. Sunshine is going to be coming out, increasing as we go through the day. A beautiful day setting up, upper 70s. You can't beat that. And some lower 80s. North winds, it's going to be our third straight breezy day. They'll be 10 to 20 miles per hour, gusting to 25. But that north wind is what's bringing in that cooler, less humid air mass that'll be hanging around for a couple of days before the warmer, muggier air returns as we head into the weekend.
All right, Zach, thank you so much. It's going to be a beautiful day today despite that severe weather we saw overnight. I'm glad that's passed, and we're looking forward to a Wednesday, possibly outdoors with 79 at 4 p.m. Well, Chris, let's get to some people's questions. I know we've been talking a lot this morning about what's next. Of course, we know the reopening process will start this Friday. The stay-at-home order will be lifted tomorrow. And we're talking also about the latest numbers as we do every single morning. I do want to report some new numbers here. Bell County has reported 7 new cases. Brazos County reported 6 new cases yesterday. And good news for McLennan County, they did not report any new cases. But we are expected to hear more from McLennan County officials and, of course, the Waco Mayor, Kyle Deaver. Later today at 1:30, they will be holding a virtual press conference. Be sure to download the 6 News app or head to our website or stick with Facebook to see the very latest updates. Again, that's at 1:30 this afternoon.
Yeah, Heidi, and doing some research independently as well as hearing some advice from some colleagues, I do have an interesting little tidbit for you this morning. I know that a lot of you have had a lot of frustrations about the IRS Track My Payment tool. A lot of you are receiving and I'm going to say this a couple different times as more people join just because we've had this question so frequently. But a lot of people have had information not available or not available, status not available, that whole thing. What we are hearing right now, and this is just, by the way, this is just tips from people who have tried this and it has worked, as well as a number of national media outlets are reporting this as well. I have yet to independently confirm this. I want to be clear about that. I haven't used the Track My Stimulus Check tracker. I haven't had the need to, but what I can say is if you're putting your information in just regular sentence case, it might not be accepting it. So what I would tell you to do, and what has been working for a number of people across the country, if you're getting those messages, put your information in all caps. People are saying when they put all their information in capitalized letters, it is then being accepted. So I thought that was an interesting little tidbit because we don't have a very clear answer for so many people who are saying, well, it's not processing, it's not letting me do it, it says it's not available. So I thought that was an interesting little tidbit. If you use all capital letters, that could be a solution to some of the error messages you're getting.
And I know we had a lot of viewers here on Still Up with 6 that were concerned with not being able to get a status from the IRS in regard to their stimulus check, whether it was direct deposit or mail-in check. So there you go. If you're watching this morning, you're still not getting through, you might want to try putting everything in caps lock. It might get you through that way. That's a very interesting point. Another interesting thing that we learned this morning is when it comes to someone who's deceased in your family and receiving a check, that is a thing. People are getting checks from family members who have passed. And Chris, you've gotten some questions about this personally to your email in regards to what do you do next?
Yeah, I thought it was a very unique situation. I had gotten one question from a viewer who was wondering, they had received the full 2,400, and I'm not going to put the person's information out there or their name, but they'd received the full 2,400 for themselves and their spouse. Now, their spouse had recently, unfortunately, passed on. So she was wondering, what do I do with this? Am I going to have to give this back? And I was a little bit frustrated because the IRS didn't really have any clear directives as to what people should do. But now they somewhat do. They say to hold on to that money for right now and wait for further instruction. And luckily, Heidi, the viewer who had asked me that question did catch Texas Today this morning and heard you mention that in the show. So she was able to follow up with me and say that she was going to hold on to her cash, and thanks for the info. So I'm glad that she was able to get that information. I know it is a very unique situation, but it could be a situation that people are dealing with across the country. We know that certainly if you're elderly, you know, the reality is there's a possibility that you might have had a spouse that has passed on since you last filed your taxes or since your last tax return, or maybe you're not a filer anymore, you're on Social Security. So it's an interesting question, and I thought it was good that the IRS is finally addressing some of these more unique situations.
I'm glad they have too, because you think about people who get these checks, some people go ahead and spend it right away, you know, whether they're paying off their bills or credit cards or buy themselves something nice, whatever it may be. I'm just glad that that specific person who watches Texas Today didn't spend that money, because I would assume in the future when the IRS does come out with the right instructions on what to do, they would have to pay back that money. So if you know anybody who knows somebody who got a check for somebody who's passed in their family, make sure that they hold on to it, don't spend it, because there is going to be further instructions from the IRS on what to do with it. So that's something to keep in mind, and a very important new development that we've learned.
Yeah, Heidi, and I just do want to say something too. I would hope, I mean, this is my personal opinion, I would hope the IRS wouldn't ask for this back. This is not, you know, in many Americans' cases, this is not any fault of their own. I mean, there's nothing that they could have done to prevent that or inform the IRS before that stimulus check was sent out. I mean, it's possible that this is ripe for scammers, for people who are trying to get money with the knowledge that you shouldn't be. But in this viewer's situation and in the story we heard today, these people had no idea that extra money was coming their way. So that seems more like an error on the IRS than it does on the person who received it.
Yeah, it is. But I think at this point, because we don't know what the instructions are going to be from the IRS, just hold on to that money just in case, just to be safe, I think is the best way.
Oh, interesting comment here from Bobby, who says, I got money from my mom, and she passed away April 2019. They sent us a letter indicating they were aware she is deceased and still sent it. Okay, Bobby, thanks for that. So it's possible that they are aware and still issuing the payment based on certain tax filings. So that's some interesting perspective there, Bobby. Thanks for weighing in.
Thank you so much, Bobby. Yeah, I think it's one of these things where, you know, if you don't know somebody who's dealing with this, you don't really know what letters are being sent out there, and we rely so much on you guys, just like you guys rely on us to give you guys information. You guys provide information to us as well through personal experience. So thank you so much, Bobby, for that.
Yeah, certainly some questions about reopening and that entire process. Also with the stimulus check, we want to remind you, if you're frustrated that you haven't gotten it yet, some 90 million Americans so far have gotten it. But checks are still on the way for 60 million Americans. That's a significant number right now. So just hold tight. Just because you haven't received a check yet, there is another massive wave still in process right now, Heidi.
Yeah, and again, you can track the status of that. Chris just gave us a good tip about putting everything in caps lock. In terms of reopening, we have a full article on our website of detailed things that are opening and not opening come Friday.
Frank saying it's too early to open Texas, and that's me being optimistic. Have to be safe. I think there's a lot of concern, Frank, that it might be a little bit too early for this. Hopefully we are doing this slowly enough and methodically enough that we don't see a second spike in cases. But of course, we've heard top health officials, Dr. Anthony Fauci has expressed his fears about a potential second wave if these social distancing guidelines aren't taken seriously. But I know that on the flip side of that, there's a lot of frustration with people saying, I have to make a living, I have to be able to pay my mortgage, I have to be able to pay my rent, I've got bills, I need to get back to work. But we don't want to go back to square one.
Yeah. I think that's the goal everyone wants to avoid, is going back to square one. I think a lot of people are trying to remain optimistic, but some people do think it's too soon. And the good news about those people is they won't be going outdoors, and they'll continue to social distance, and they'll continue to wear a mask if they do need to go out for essential things. So we want to thank everyone who's joined this morning and asked us any questions, and of course we'll be back tomorrow morning to talk more about this and see what new developments come out of Waco-McLennan County later this afternoon at 1:30. And of course, if you have any questions you want verified, there's Chris's information right there popped up on your screen.
Yeah, stay safe everyone and have a happy Wednesday, and we will see you tomorrow morning.